Good evening, televiewers. You're welcome to today's edition of Prime R on My Media Prime. This evening, we're going to be looking at long-distance relationship, how to cope with them. Many relationships are working well in that state of operating from a long distance. Why are you guys laughing? Meanwhile, statistics actually show, there is a statistics, a research that was done that shows that 40% of a long distance relationship end in breakup after 4 to 5 months of the partners living together. Another research also showed that 70% of them end up breaking up. So we're going to be looking at what it would take for persons who are living under such conditions to survive and make sure that they end up very well. If time permits, we are also going to be looking at this phenomenon of women thinking that marriage or being in a relationship is their prime objective in life. Many actually use relationships and marriage as their sole source of income. Should that be the case? We are going to be discussing this with our panelists who are in the house already. Apostle Tambe Valentine is our permanent consultant in this house. Good evening and welcome.
Good evening, Mr. Leo. Good evening, my co-panelists. Good evening, Cameroonians. It's another privilege again to be here, and we are here to talk relationship. God bless you as you stay tuned to your screen.
The Apostle Lefor Divine is called the Love Doctor. He's also here to share the love experience he has with us. Good evening, welcome.
Good evening, Mr. Liu, and good evening, viewers all over the world. It's another wonderful time, it's another wonderful moment. I think this is your favorite program is on, and we shall be handling some very pertinent, I think it's a very interesting topic today, and I think wisdom shall speak again. It is quite interesting, so I'm glad to be here, and I salute everyone with my co-panelists. I think we shall all have a wonderful time.
Madam Ngui Fotinglet has been away for 2 weeks. She's back. We're glad to have you. Good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Leo. I'm glad to be back. So to say, I've actually missed the platform. It's a joy for me to be here again. Thank you for tuning to your favorite program today on My Media Prime. Just keep watching. We have so much in store for you today, and you can trust us and trust God, most importantly, that as we work together, your relationship will be well coordinated and directed. Thank you.
Take the notes. Send testimonies so that they say by the word of, we overcame them by the word of testimony. So send the testimony so that we overcome those who are working against the success of our relationship. So we are waiting for your testimonies. Apostle Tambe Valentine, we're talking about long distance relationships. You have certainly been receiving, are you receiving complaints from that?
Yeah.
Is it easy? How difficult is it?
Yeah, Mr. Leo, I talked today as a marriage counselor and as somebody who has handled issues that have to do with long distance relationships. And I can tell you, it's really a serious challenge. Yes, nobody should mince words when dealing with a subject like this, because I have first-hand information on long distance relationships. The first thing is that we often say that distance is not a barrier, but that thing does not apply to long distance relationship. That distance barrier has to do with spiritual things. It has nothing to do with physical. There is a lot, I repeat, a lot of mistrust, which is one of the most dangerous weapons against marriage or relationships. Long distance relationships create a lot of mistrust. I repeat, mistrust. Why? You get informations about your partner that you cannot attest to. You get informations about your partner that you cannot handle. People take advantage of long distance relationship and pay their enemies, avenge their enemies when they see the slightest opportunity. I give a clear example with the case of Pastor Chris Yakilume. I can guarantee you one of the reasons and the major reason why these two persons could not live together, him and his wife, was because the husband was in South Africa and the wife was in London. And I can tell you that the information the wife was receiving, not what she saw or what she caught. Because the Bible says if you catch your partner in the act of adultery, not when you hear about your partner, information that trickled into the mind of that woman, that infiltrated man, condemned the husband completely. People can paint a picture of your partner at a distance that you did not know. The guy coming from US last week and said they told him that the wife is a lesbian. He lives in America. And I asked him that, what are the proofs? Did they get some photographs with your wife making love with a lesbian partner and sent to you? And even if they sent photographs, how true are those photographs? We are in a jet age. Technology has advanced. There's photoshopping. Somebody can blend two photographs and make it look like it's real. This distant relationship is that you do not have first-hand information about your partner, and you are liable to receive any junk, any trash that is discharged to you. And when those informations keep coming, the reaction is different. Secondly, family members that might not have loved your wife or your husband will take advantage of the situation to breach the link between you and your wife. And I've seen in many occasions that when people travel out of the country and leave either a husband or a wife behind, it is the people who stay behind that sever that relationship. Because the errors you would have seen with your wife and accommodate, they will see it and then magnify it. There is a difference when you see something and when something is presented to you. If I want to finish Apostle Lefor here in 1 second, if they tell you to see Apostle Lefor face to face, you will not like it. I have condemned many people based on what I heard about them, only to see them physically and realize that they are totally different from what people presented them to me. I did that as an amateur many years ago, but till date I cannot. I repeat, nobody can convince me about somebody until I've had first-hand information about that person. There are persons that told me they were witches, that they fly in the night, only to meet them. They were better off than the people who told me that they were witches. Have you seen a witch condemn a saint? A witch will tell you about a saint. You will think the saint is a witch. And that is the issue. And because you don't have first-hand information about your partner, there is a guarantee that both of you cannot last. Because why? You live on transferred information about your partner. You don't live on first-hand information. You as a husband living with a wife one-on-one, it is true you will see every mistake. But that mistake that you see, you can accommodate on the one that somebody presents it to you. That is the reason why you see long-distance relationships face a lot of troubles. The Bible says the two shall become one flesh. One flesh means they have to stay under the same environment. Now, circumstances like financial surge for greener pasture can cause parties to separate, but let that distance not be too long. Because if it lasts for too long, people will give you a testimony about your partner that you will not be able to contain.
But it is a phenomenon, eh? Can we actually say we can live in this world without long distance relationship?
I get where you're coming from. The truth is,
no, not from
yes,
me.
I know. I get where,
yes.
I get where you are coming from. I get the angle you are presenting it, yes. And that's true because we're living in a global village, and it's not about greener pastures. Sometimes it can be about studies. It can be about empowerment. Today we can live here and go empowerment, go far. I think with the world we are living today, like it or not, there are long distance relationship. In fact, at some
you could be living with your wife or your husband who works for an organization
that travels a lot.
He sent to Marwa or
yes,
whatever. Yeah.
Yes. I think the problem is not really whether these things can or would happen. The truth is we are living in a world now where people stay here and even work in the States. You know, all of those things. But I think from what what Paul said, even when Paul talked about staying away sexually from your partner, Paul himself said that it should not be too long. That if it is too long, it is too long, something will happen. I think that applies to long distance relationship. The truth is, the major problem is that space gives room for a lot of things. It gives room for a lot of ideas, for a lot of things that might not have. Sometimes coping with temptation is not necessarily because you're not tempted, but your activity, what you are focused on, can help you stay away from certain temptations. But I think in the world that we are today, these things cannot be totally, you cannot say that you must, when you marry, it's impossible. But we want to say here that the challenge is that long distance relationship has a lot of risk. It's a high risk endeavor. We must put it out very clear. And if, in my own opinion, there's something I want to say. I always advise people before they enter the marriage, especially people who can try, who have a little glimpse of their plans. I always advise, or maybe people who start a relationship from long distance. Some people even start their dating and courtship from long distance, from Facebook chats of hi, hello, and it continues. Or somebody say, okay, I'm engaged a woman here, so I'm going to study for 6 years and come back. I always advise that if the engagement and this thing will take too much time, I always advise, especially more than 2 years, let that person focus on what they are going to do. When they are done, they will see somebody. If you think it's your time to get married, because sometimes these long things have always not turned out well. But what about, because I think what I talk about relationships here is both relationships and marriages, right? Yes. So I think from that angle, I always advise people who are not yet married to be very careful. If it would take more than 2 years before you marry, I always assume that you are not yet ready. Whether it's that you are going for studies, whether you are going for financial greener pastures, it means you are not ready if it will take you more than 2 years. But now what happens if you're already inside the marriage? Because sometimes plans change. You have already come in. I think the people must be able to count the cost. I think the two people must be able to count the cost, because Mr. Leonard, the truth is, it is a risky endeavor, because that distance, like he was trying to say, there's something that happens when you are from a distance. It's easy for people to say something, and when people tell you something about your partner, the first thing that happens is, before you even try analyzing it, your ego has been pricked. Your pride has been touched, because you're like, so now my woman worker disgrace me in my answer. Something first starts pricking you before you even start investigating. So these are some of the it's true. So these are some of the small things that begins to happen. And I think the two people, if they are in a relationship, or if they're in a marriage, I think if they will be in a distance for too long, because even Paul says it is a dangerous thing to stay away from your wife. It is a dangerous thing. So I think, but it's not impossible, but I think they should count the cost and be sure that they can manage that cost.
It's well. God's grace is sufficient. Madam Fotinglet, but should it not start by both parties discussing even the possibility, because they need to be predisposed. It's like you want to engage in something, in a business venture, you should also be disposed that it's also a risk now. You can engage in something, and 2-3 years after, this is a situation that presents itself. You should be ready to accommodate that.
Eventually, and most importantly, from the onset, the apostles have just made us to understand how risky it is. It is a venture. When you want to get into it, you should be very sure, and you sit down and count the cost. Not one person, but both parties. So you have to discuss it and talk it out. Look at the cost benefits of it all and ask yourself, am I ready? Can I actually sustain this relationship? Being it a relationship you're beginning in a distance, being it a relationship that you have lived in, at one point something happens, maybe your spouse is going out for a job, for education or whatever, you should be able to sit down and talk it out. Both of you count the cost, and you should be able to examine yourself as an individual first. Can I stand it? Can I actually stand the fact that my spouse, my husband, my wife lives away from me for this period? Because most important, sometimes it's always important when you discuss, you should be able to define a time frame. Because some people go for distant relationship without even discussing the time frame. You don't even know when it will end. You just stay, you ask a lady, I have a fiance, I have a husband out of the country, I have a fiance, and then you keep waiting forever. You wait, I'm coming this year, the year passes. You wait 5 years, 10 years, you are waiting as like you were waiting for Jesus. So it's always important you discuss, you accept, You accept that I want to stay. It's an intentional act. And you should be ready for everything that comes with it. And you should be ready to make it work. That is, if we are staying together and it's working, if we have to stay apart for this short while, it has to work. And if it has to work, both of us have to work. We have to, we are not supposed to sleep over it. It's not a venture that we are getting into it and leave everything in the hands of faith. At this point in time, we understand that it becomes different now. We used to live together, or we have always been together, but at this point in time, we are no longer in the same country. You're going away for a purpose that we all have accepted that it's a genuine reason. And there's the need for you to leave, or one person to leave, for the other person to stay for now, for the moment. So at that point in time, you should be able to determine and define exactly how you want that relationship to work out for you both. As in what you discuss your likes. You know, in marriage, in counseling, we always talk of you discuss and you agree. You don't allow things to be understood. You don't allow things, you don't compromise. But you put things on the table, discuss on them, and you agree on them. There are people who might not stay long because of when they feel an absence in certain things. For instance, we have what we call love language. We have 5 major love languages, like we know. For me to know that, for somebody to know that I'm in love, they should be, my spouse should always be there to touch me. They like maybe the body language, you need to always, the touch. Without sex, they just want to be touched by my partner all the time. That kind of a person, you need to really work so hard, because your partner is away and the partner is not there to touch you. Start feeling that absence. And then there are persons who like a love language, who like to be catered for. It's one of the love languages, taking care. Like, I want to take care of your needs, I wash your clothes, I iron. I like my wife, for instance, to do those things for me. So am I supposed to be here and then I don't have my wife around me and she's away? And then who does those things for me? Does it actually define her love for me? At one point, that person cannot really stand the relationship. And then you might go as far as putting in what you have to do to make it work. As in, we have to communicate always, which is one very important and vital aspect. When your spouse is out of home, communication is not even an option. It's supposed to be a regular and consistent. As in, you should know your spouse's program. You are at work at this hour. You're home at this hour. I'm doing shopping. I'm doing this. Sometimes those spontaneous kind of discussions come up. You don't need to ignore them. And you don't take anything for granted. You take just nothing for granted. So communication is not an option when you are going out or you are taking an option for a distant relationship. Be ready. If you are not somebody who communicates, you have to build up that skill. Okay. You must perfectly build up the skill of effective communication so that you can keep communicating with your partner every time. You don't claim to be busy. No, it wouldn't work. Okay. And then one other thing I want to talk about is trust. Apostle just spoke something about that the challenge he has seen in most couples that come with difficulty in a distant relationship is mistrust. When you don't trust your spouse, you cannot even stand a distant relationship, because everything is going to be misinterpreted. Every step is going to be misinterpreted. If I don't even trust my husband, if you don't trust your wife, that as I'm leaving you in the country, you're going to stay and you take care of yourself, while there you suspect every little thing, and before you know it, in a very short while, that relationship cannot go far. If you don't trust the fact that my husband can stay, my husband is there, he's responsible, and you don't follow up. And it is lack of trust that always causes people to call others and ask questions, just like Apostle was saying, that people give information. You start calling, you want to call a neighbor. You are out of Cameroon. You want to call a neighbor you left in Cameroon to ask, is my wife in the house? Who does she work with? What was her program today? And they will actually feed you with very wrong information, and that will lead to break your home.
Terrible, my sister. Apostle Tambe Valentine, we are talking about long distance relationship. Could people actually be living together yet distant in their relationship?
Yes. Very, very possible. I said one time on the TV here that the social media is the tool that brings us closer to those who are far away from us and takes us far away from those who are close. Yeah, it brings us closer to those who are far away from us and then takes us away from those who are close to us. People could be living in the same house, but they are distant from each other. It is very, very possible. This occurs when the house is under pressure. When you live with somebody that doesn't give you peace, peace is what everybody wants on earth. The only thing that is missing on this earth that most people are looking for is peace. Beginning from homes, beginning from nations, go to communities is peace. And once this peace is lacking, you could be living in the same house, the person, but it looks like both of you are living in two different countries. There is no communication, there's no intimacy, there's no connection. Both of you live as if you are strangers to each other. There is a way you live with a woman that you graduate from being husband and wife to become brothers and sisters, to become cats and mouse, to become enemies in the house. That kind of relationship is just like somebody who has traveled abroad. You are walking into your own house, you are just praying for day to break for you to get out of the house. Some people just go out in the morning and just get drunk to stupor and then come back to that. In that high state, they can sleep. Because if your eyes are clear, people cannot discuss like this for 2 to 3 minutes. The moment they make the first statement, second statement, it ends in query. So the man finds it difficult to communicate. The woman equally finds it difficult to communicate. So you see both of them are sitting in the parlor watching television together. Nobody is connected to the other. The TV is for you alone. And then the person who doesn't want to watch the program that is on the program, he takes the remote control and change it. Since the person doesn't want to communicate, he too sits quiet. Or he walks into the room. That is a distant relationship. They say you are living under the same roof, but you are living alone. It's very bad. And one of the other things I want to mention about distant relationship is that it affects parenting. Yeah, it affects parenting seriously. There is a role of a man in a family. That presence of that man alone is domineering. Children can fall in place and be afraid to do certain things in the presence of their father. But when it is the mother that is in place, because some women pamper children a lot, and they cannot discipline children to the extent that fathers can do. A father may not be a disciplinarian, but his presence alone creates an atmosphere of serenity. That parenting issue becomes a very serious issue. And some women who are travel abroad also, they don't call their husbands with calls, audio calls. They do video calls according to this age.
It's only video calls.
To identify where you are, you will commit suicide. Because he may be standing with a former school friend, a former schoolmate, a colleague at the job site, and then suddenly he picks the call. Or the day he refuses to pick the call, automatically thoughts begin to run through your mind. You start thinking that if he did not pick the call, he must have been with girl somewhere. He must have been with a lady somewhere. All these verifications are things that cause a lot of problems in relationship. Now that we have had video calls from different countries, people will never call their husband with normal calls again, or call their wives with normal call. I will just call in to Kang for 5 hours a day. And they call this call spontaneously to find out where you are practically located and to know what you are doing at that time. I must be sincere with you. Anybody who doesn't want to live long, become a monitoring spirit behind a man or a woman, you will die before your time. One of the least assignment you have on this earth behind a man and a woman is to monitor them. That's the truth. If my wife gets and tells me that she's going to Boya is enough. I don't want to be finding out to who and to where and to what. But women don't do that. They don't do that. You were going to Boya to who? At what time? And then when you say you're coming at 6 o'clock, if 6 o'clock passes, hey, now let the Boya Palawazo. Or is it something else? This inquisitive nature has landed so many women with heart palpitation, hypertension, high blood pressure, and they might even die for something which is not what they are thinking about. Unnecessary check, unnecessary monitoring, unnecessary investigation. Those are the things that destroy homes. There's supposed to be a level of relaxation. I should tell people that if you don't have confidence in yourself, that's when you would think somebody will take away your husband or take away your wife. That's the simple truth. That's the simple truth. So we have to be relaxed. The way we approach relationships affects people a lot.
But in addition to that, Apostle Tambe Valentine, could you still be living with somebody and you are distant? For example, the persons who are career ladies, they're hardly home. Though they're living at home with you, they leave in the morning, maybe they come, they are hardly there. And then there are husbands who are, for example, you're a truck driver who goes to N'Djamena. Every month you go out there. That is, yes, all of that. Are these not also things that we should consider?
This automatically, there's some jobs that will not, like the other person mentioned. Yes, there are people who are captains in the ship. They spend 3 months in the sea. There are pilots who constantly fly from one country to another. There are others who are truck drivers who live from Cameroon to Central African Republic, and there are equally people who work. Their nature of job. They work from morning to the evening, and then they just come back already tired and exhausted. Such a relationship can be managed when the people have opportunity to spend time together. They should maximize it effectively, because if the man stops the job, you will not eat. You won't send the children to school.
It comes back to what I asked earlier on, that we need to understand what we are getting into and be ready to adjust.
Yes, that's it. A lot of things are going to go wrong if the man leaves the job because he wants to stay with you. He can't stay with you in the house and then he doesn't have money to eat, doesn't have food to eat. So one has to be traded. The time you have to spend with the man has to be traded for the family to be catered for. But now the man doesn't work always. There's a time for leave. There probably are some weekends that he is free. He should maximize the opportunity, because one time a man who was constantly away from home came back home. The child told him that, "Daddy, I don't want a sponsor, I need a father." When you are far away from your children and you take all responsibility and you pay all the bills, you are more of a sponsor than a father, because a father is far beyond him that make provision. A father should be somebody who is present, who can mentor the children. Sometimes I sit in the house, my daughter will come and ask me questions, what they have asked them from school. That is the interaction we are talking about. It's far beyond giving them school fees and paying them books, or buying them uniform, or paying other bills in the school, or taking responsibilities. There's supposed to be that communion between you and your children. Now, for a man who has that kind of job that is outgoing, or a woman that has that kind of job which is outgoing, sometimes we advise that the least time you have, probably a week, that you may have for a week or a month, you have for leave, or you may want to relax, or your resting day. Please make sure you invest that particular time with your family to the extent where when you leave, that presence of yours could be fed for some days or months.
Okay. Good evening, Mr. Liu. I really appreciate you for bringing intellectuals to educate us. My worry is my husband lives apart from me, but whenever he's coming to check on us, he always deletes some of his messages, especially with ladies. This is really making me lose confidence in him. I'm Sama writing from Bafusam. How do you know he deleted messages from the ladies before coming? Okay. Good evening, Mr. Leo. This is an important topic, especially for those who are engaged to guys out of the country. Before accepting the man, they should think about the following: time differences. Be ready to sacrifice even your sleep at times in order to keep the relationship going. Trust your man or lady. Don't listen to friends, because many have bad advice. Learn to be truthful and open to him. Be careful of where you go to, and above all, put God at the center of your relationship. Ngala Relind is writing from Yaoundé. Good evening to you, Relindis. Okay. Thank you for that message also. Oops. Now, we are talking about persons who are living maybe in different countries, but also persons who are living in different towns and within the same country. We have also persons who are engaged in different careers that actually makes them not readily disposed all the time. But how do we make sure that both parties feel secure in their relationship?
The first thing I would really always like to advise anybody who is about to get married is that don't marry somebody you don't trust.
Okay.
Don't because you are about to live with somebody all your life, and then every second. So sometimes I see some relationship and I ask myself, how do you want to live as married couple? Because like when I counsel, I hear some again raising every day. I see you enter, I see one go wash, I check your phone, I discover and say, you don't discuss with some boy for us. Now and then I ask myself, this is still at the level of dating. Imagine how it will look like at the level of marriage. It's a sad situation, because the truth is, I want to say that there are some people who are not wired to do long distance relationship. Let's be very honest here. There are people who are not wired to do look, see, Mr. Leo, there are people that there are ladies that if they are certain if they are certain that you care, there are ladies that we have seen it here. People have left women here for 7 years and they did not date another person. This is true. That means it's not that it's not that they not meet other handsome or rich people. That is the truth. So, like you see some captures of the sheep, some like you talk about captures of sheep. They go for 3 months and then they come back and they make 2 months. There are some people that they just need an assurance. I think it comes first from the trust both people build at the level of relationship. It is very important, because you cannot be planning to stay with somebody all your life and you are not comfortable. Most possessive women, because most of the times, but some men also are very possessive, that's the truth. Most possessive partners cannot do long distance. I know people that if their wife is out of the house for 30 minutes, they start calling. You don't know for which place, for which part, where you don't pass Nafogu side and you go Nafogu. How can these things be? So that, you remember one time when I was talking about my counting the cost. Like when I saw my future, like you mentioned somebody, the Honorable Reverend Chris. I've always said that we should learn. I've always said that I don't think even that wife had a picture of what that man set out to do. That means I'm not sure that she imagined that this thing could be one day as big as this and be quite demanding, because sometimes the demand of the work can bring distance. So I'm not sure she pictured that kind of demand. And because sometimes when we're in love, anything they say goes. No, hey, I will follow you to the end. I will die me. Well, I will go with you to dead doors part. We must count this cost. So I think, and then sometimes, like we said, security also comes from communication. Security comes from communication. Sometimes a woman just needs you to give her. There are women that if you tell them that, don't worry, everything is okay, they will hear. But there are some people that if you like, you snap picture, they will say, they must see the other side. Snap the back, must see. Like whatever about, you snap this way, yes, and all of this thing. So I think let's start. This thing starts from the relationship level, and when you come in, because sometimes relationships evolve. And you find that sometimes long-term relationship will go into it. I've always said this, sometimes even when these people are communicating, thank God for these tools, these communication tools. But sometimes when it's misused, it can cause issues. So I think there should be better communication. I think some things should be handled at the level of before the relationship. And above all, I think the people, know yourself. If you know you cannot deal with long-term relationship, don't enter into it. Know yourself. If you know you have palpitation, don't do it. Don't do it. That's the truth. There are people who are calm. I want to emphatically say here, not everybody is wired for long distance relationship. If you know you're not wired, don't enter into it. You can one day curse somebody for nothing.
Okay, you can curse somebody for nothing. We pray that it should not be you watching us, because yes, God, we should not curse now. Yes. God has blessed us, so we should bless others. Good evening, Mr. Liu, and to all the panelists. The topic is crucial one. Long distance relationship is hell. That notwithstanding, it's possible to stay out of temptation. When both partners are too busy and call each other often, I think it can, in a way, save that relationship. This is writing from Kumba. Mabisong, also writing from Kumba, says long distance relationship is the worst relationship that you can imagine. Men are the greatest evil you can imagine. Monogamous and polygamous are the same. Okay? Why do you say we are very evil now, Mabisong? Are you saying that women are saints? Good evening, Mr. Liu. I'm enjoying the program. Thank you for this topic. I think to succeed in a distance relationship, you must keep yourself busy and trust each other. Beyond all, both partners must be communicating always, every day, and they must also really love each other. Vela is writing from Yasa in Douala. Good evening to you, Vela. Good evening, Mr. Liu. Very interesting topic today. My husband works out of town. At times, I see him just once in a month, but when he comes around, he still keeps late night. We pray that we should receive grace to remain at home. Okay. Good evening, Mr. Liu, and my father with all the marriage mentors there. Can we now conclude that a poor available father is better than a rich absent father. Okay. Wow. Good evening to all the panelists. Mr. Leo, you once said your wife is in Canada. Please tell us your own experience, for experience is the best teacher. We can learn from your experience. Zita, good evening. Zita is writing from Amanda. Zita, you want to hear my experience? I will do that. Good evening, Mr. Leo, and everyone on board. I have been following the conversation, and it sounds interesting, and I must say the points raised are great tips which people should consider. However, when relationships are concerned, we must be very diligent. 3 things I recommend for relationships: effective communication, trust, total commitment. Be it distant relationship or not, all needs principles. Okay. Oops. Good evening to you. You've written several times. Wow. Why? You send this to NN Rene writing. Zita, yes, my wife is in Canada. I trust her so much, and I believe she trusts me. We communicate every day, video calls, and I'm very comfortable. I'm not worried. Never worried. Yes, I trust her completely, and I believe she trusts me. We are fine. There was a reason for it. Yeah, but yes, we are fine. Madam Fotinglet, are there also, since we are talking about coping with temptations that come on, are there some comportments, are there some places, are there some things that both partners are also supposed to guard against so that they don't fall into temptation? That's what we pray now. Yes, lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil.
Yeah, things or persons or avenues or gathering we should guard against. Me, I'll put it that if you are in a long distance relationship, don't be idle.
Okay.
Because it is idleness that take you to go talk with people to give you ideas that were not called for. One of the key things, if you are in a long distance relationship, don't be idle. Whether you are a man, whether you are a lady. But the temptation and the trouble we see out here every day, and the most people you will even see for counseling are ladies who are not doing anything. My fiance is in the US. My husband is in the US. And what are you doing? Nothing. They send you money all the time. And then out of idleness, you have to watch all his steps. The time you want to talk to him, he's not available, there is quarrel. Because you're idle. Now, being it a long distance relationship, being it a relationship where you guys are together, idleness is one of the root cause of trouble, suspicions, kind of headache in marriage. If you have a spouse, you have a wife, you have a husband who is not busily doing something, then be rest assured that person is going to be a thorn to your flesh. Why? Because you always feel lonely. You feel isolated. You feel like my spouse should be here with me when that person is out struggling and working out for the good of the family. But you expect that person to be with you at the same time. So for young ladies, young guys out there, the advice is this: if you have a husband, you have a fiancé who is out of the country, don't stay while waiting. Your documents might be in the process, or you're expecting him to come back to the country. Please get yourself busy. Get an activity that when you get up in the morning, you are busy till evening, and you have a time you talk to your spouse. And when you communicate, you're tired, you sleep, you forget, you don't have time to go and sit and begin to talk with. You don't have that time to go to avenues where you will not get something that is constructive, something that can add value to your life, can add value to your family, can add value to your future. So rather than sit out in the house there and you're just idling around, please beware. Beware. And just like Mr. Leo is saying, beware when you are busy. There are always people who come around to tell you things. You know, we have people who are very good at sending communication. There are even friends who will do everything to destroy your relationship so that you can be like them, or they take your position. So when you go and you sit with persons that will put things into your ear. Are you sure that your husband over there like that is not sleeping with women? And then you start panicking. You go and sleep the whole night. You have palpitation. You start stressing yourself up, stressing. Please relax. Relax. He's human. we've talked of trust, and it's been emphasized on, if you trust to your spouse, get yourself busy and work up to the purpose for which you guys have decided to live apart, and both of you should see that this thing gets to work, your relationship gets to work. Make up your mind that you won't be a failure. Make up your mind that this thing will not break out because we are apart. And one of those things that you should equally take into consideration is maybe having an activity together, having some time spent together. Not necessarily because you are far away, you cannot have time spent together. Apostles talked about when you have time, whether you are around or you're far off, you make quality use of that time. Time is created. You are creating the time, and not time that has to create you. I happen to be a career lady. Before I got married, I was working. I graduated from school. I began working before I got married. So my husband didn't get married to a woman who stays at home. And I am not used to. April next year makes me 10 years in marriage. And I don't know idleness. I've never stayed except I'm on leave. I am always busy. I go home. There are days I go to work. I close 5, 6, 7 p.m. I work in the financial sector, and for those who know, it's very demanding. There are times at first with the old, I could even be in the office till midnight. So my husband had to understand all of that. But then that I am busy, that he too is busy. Time doesn't create us. We create time. We make our time. We sit down, we look at our program, we look at our agenda, and we see the need. If we continue running left and right and we don't find time for each other, then we are jeopardizing that relationship. Because a relationship where there is no communication, there is no avenue you create for both of you to sit and talk intimately. You feel your spouse and your spouse feels you. Your children feel that they have parents. Then you are treading that relationship. And be rest assured, you're not going anywhere. Soon you discover you're living in the house with a stranger. Because at one point, I don't get to understand you, and you don't get to understand me. Because the people I relate with more, maybe are my colleagues, my clients, and all of that. You too the same. You don't even know me, I don't know you. So it's very essential. You make out time for communication. You don't wait. You don't leave it in the hands of faith.
Okay.
Now, when my spouse will be available, we'll talk. No. We have to talk. We have to go out for sightseeing. We have to take a walk out of home. We have to. Today, please, we'll try to see how to come much earlier. This weekend, we are getting out of town with the kids to spend time, and it's very important.
Good evening, Mr. Liu. Distance relationship is a shock. Tambe is writing from Kumba. Good evening, Mr. Liu. And the crew on, I'm so happy for this very sensitive topic. I'm Mola David from Mokunda Limbe 2. My contribution is that even in the time of all our grandfathers and grandmothers, sisters and brothers, before modern ICT tools, use other methods to even see their distant lovers. For example, out helps in the eye to monitor them. But my advice is this: trust God and commit your relationship or marriage to God Almighty. Thanks, because God plans all knows all, not humans. Okay? Not too clear, but I'm sure the message has gone through. Good evening, Mr. Liu. The biggest threat to distance relationship is communication. There are people who are born introverts. As such, they tend to keep certain vital information from their partners, which will eventually create problems. They must understand the importance of effective communication to avoid suspicion. This is very important. Okay? Gilbert from Douala says, a long-distance relationship needs constant communication. You also need to keep yourself busy with other stuff so as you won't feel bored, okay? Good evening, Mr. Leo, and to your crew on board. My take is that distant relationship is not for the weak, but those that have inbuilt trust from the base. Rudolph is writing from Douala General Hospital. Good evening, Mr. Liu and all the panelists. For a start, I think long-distance relationship is not for everyone. Both parties will first of all need to discover each other's love language. There are 5 love languages: words of affirmation, quality time, physical touch, acts of service, receiving gifts. Most couples don't consider these reasons for temptation, which eventually leads to breakups. Also, you have to put your spouse's weaknesses into consideration, because even with all the communication in the world, things may still go wrong. Thank you. Elvis Fombe writing from Douala. Good evening to you in the studio, and thank you for this wonderful topic. What can you do with a lady that calls every after 2 hours? It's really boring to me, and I want to know how to improve on it. Maxell is writing from Boya, but Maxell is just getting to the top. The next question I had to ask Apostle Ambe. Good evening, Mr. Liu. I really appreciate this wonderful program on air. How I wish it should be every day. Greetings to the most informed apostle in the world, the whole wide world, and the entire team on board. Long distance relationship is really a problem, especially where there is no trust. From Yisa Promise, writing from Bamenda. Yes, he raised an issue which I was going to ask you. Excessive communication could also be detrimental, Apostle. Okay.
Communication, no matter how short it is, if the subject matter is boring, it's boring.
Okay.
If the subject matter is interesting, it can be consistent.
Okay.
People find it enjoyable to talk when the informations are appealing. The informations are that they bring joy to your heart. If somebody speaks for 5 minutes and all they do is complain, blame, angry, the atmosphere becomes very tense. Even in people who are living in the same house, this communication stuff is something we have to address. People do not know the choice of topics to bring to discuss with their spouse. Every time you are coming to discuss, either you are bringing a complaint, you are bringing a worry, you are expressing an anger, or you are bringing a request. You cannot take the man out of that dimension of that stiff atmosphere. The same thing. If I communicate with you, constantly I'm praising you, appreciating you, admiring your beauty, a woman never gets satisfied if you praise her 50 times a day. Never. I love you. You are beautiful. You are attractive. You are so wonderful. You are succulent. If I did not marry you, I don't know where I've been today. You are such a blessing to me. A woman can take it morning, afternoon, evening. That is a drug that has no overdose or side effect in a woman's system. You can talk. So when you say a woman calls after every 2 hours, what is the subject matter? Does she call to complain or to find out, to make a request or to disturb you or to just bore you? That is where the discussion becomes very frustrating. Because sometimes you may see couples sit like this and they are watching even a TV, and then a woman picks the man's error from the program on television and then brings it as a subject matter. Who will sit there to watch that kind of movie? Who will sit there? It counts as a query. You don't see you don't see a man is operating in a film and then so they say, now that man picking them. Now that. Who engage in that kind of chat? It doesn't go well. It doesn't go well. So the subject matter and the choice of words we use, even in the midst of sex, let's not go for communication. When you are making love, the choice of words that you use can either affect somebody positively or negatively. These are things that we do not know when we say communication is poor. Communication is not poor because there's silence, but because the subject matter is not appealing, it's not attractive, it's not encouraging. Communication can never be an overdose or boring as long as it satisfies the soul. That's the truth. So if you say a woman calls after every 2 hours, what is she saying? If a woman calls after to say, Papa, thank you for marrying me. You are so wonderful. If I did not marry you, Master, now God give you me. I don't know. I can never get tired of that kind of appraiser. Me, Apostle, I'm sitting here. You can say it after every 30 minutes. Call me every day. But when you are calling me and say, what's your day now? Since you come up for a month, what's your day? Because I don't call her and say, you know, day for us. You there for which place? Oh, God. Oh, God. I can disappear. So we don't know.
Show me people the video then.
Yes, show me people the video to them. I don't call you video call, not pick the video call. You show them for correct place. So why not pick the video call? You pick the audio call. Not knowing that sometimes it's not even advisable for you as a man to pick video calls in the midst of people. Sometimes not advisable. There's some ethics. You don't abuse yourself in the midst of your friends. Your friends could even look at you as a weaker person. For a woman who keeps verifying where you are seated and who you are talking with, it looks like you don't have a right in your own house. All those things embarrass people publicly. So discussions or communication is not bad when you are silent. It's bad when the top subject matter falls within complaint, worry, request, or monitoring, or blackmailing, or something you are finding fault. That's where the problem is. That's why a man and a woman cannot sit down and talk for 15 minutes. You say anytime one talk something they go wrong. What goes wrong? The subject matter in question is what causes the spark. That's the problem. So we must teach people the art of communication. And that art has to do with words. It has to do with action as well as facial expression. You sit in a house to a woman, her mouth is tight like bondo koki. And her face is as dark as nimbocumulus cloud. That facial expression alone makes you understand that nothing good can come from this atmosphere. That's a psychological communication. Then she comes and says, last time we tell my man, I said, you know, Bayam. Now, number 2 times where they ask you something, they ask you need to agree for buying that thing. Now, can I add it to that? That one alone can take a man who is going through his own challenges. He will now take his anger he brought from somewhere and just transfer on you. You say, I'm not talking, you don't like me. I don't ask you so much, you cost me. That is not the means of communication. If you want to ask something of somebody, you don't go asking the thing directly. Even sex, we don't take sex directly. It's not rape. There's a way we approach you to collect that thing, you woman, you know. We're not going to say, hey, Susanna, lie down here, remove your breast away. We don't do that. So you must mind the way you communicate. And you must learn the art of communication. Sometimes gifts communicate. You are coming back from a house as a man, you see cutting meat at the roadside, roasted meat. You don't just buy the meat and with some plantain and bring it and say, I just see this meat for somewhere. I say, and they won't understand that you are going somewhere. You just come for us. I say, now what's it? Now what did worry you? That kind of person, you are a dictator. Women did not get married. They got married to a husband. Husbands are people who cultivate gift and talent. They cultivate potential. So that's how you live. Then you are out from work on a tiring day, you enter your house, your wife, because of what? Something that is not even, doesn't concern you, she just put a feel like this. You don't come. You don't come. With the tiredness, some men will not even say, they will just go inside and sit, take their bath, and they are waiting for you. You can't talk nothing. They are the ones who greeted you and you kept quiet. Now they are asking that you know you talk nothing. Talk what? Talk what? So I think people have to learn how to communicate. I know many women will come and say, anytime your mama want to talk, so can trouble the come out. I ask you, say, when they talk now, wait. We should know what you were talking for, trouble came out. Because that trouble cannot come out if you were talking love, if you were talking peace, if you were planning for the family, if you were talking the children's future, trouble will not come out. What were you talking about? Now because I tell you, I don't like the way they behave. Can you imagine? Please. Communication is a very serious thing. Okay. Call after every 2 hours and tell me that you are a good man. I like you. The way you are doing things in this family. I want to hear it after every 30 minutes. 2 hours is too far.
Good evening, Mr. Liu. Long distance relationship is all about commitment. Have time for each other. Trust, most especially prayers and fasting, because God is the greatest among all. One thing don't listen to, I hear say. Ngang Desmond is writing from the United Arab Emirates. Okay, yes, so it's not always good. Greetings, Mr. Leo. Love today's discussion, but my worry is how do you cope with a man who leaves many tasks for you to do, or in a relationship where the woman is the man and the man acting as a woman? So discouraging. Nelly is writing from Boya. I think that will be the topic for another day. Yes, have you taken it? Maybe when we ask in the forum that we want, yes, that's a topic. Okay. Good evening, Mr. Leo. Coping with a long-distance relationship is hard, but a serious man or woman will cope depending on his or her commitment towards the relationship and level of trust and communication too. Annabelle is writing from Baham. Okay. Mami Bisong from Douala writing, me love if you are in one room with your husband each time you go out and your husband always asks what dress you wore at what time you went out. What type of situation is that? Your husband controls you. Yes, it also defeats the issue of trust now that we're talking about here. Good evening, panelists. My question goes to Apostle Lambe. I would like to find out from him Is it a crime for a man to be inquisitive, like why the boy are now? What are you going to do or see? Kevin Chata is writing from Garua. Good evening, Mr. Leo. Let's not deceive ourselves. This kind of relationship doesn't work at all. It can only work if the four of them understand themselves. Okay. Good evening, fellow panelists. What a wonderful program. Okay. Good evening, Mr. Leo. May God help men and women in long-distance relationship, for this thing has broken so many homes. Cipro is writing from Yaoundé. Good evening. Please, what do you do when you check on your husband? Often, he says he needs space, but when you give him the space, he says you don't care. Okay. Good evening, Mr. Leo, and a special greetings to Apostle Ambe. What about a woman who you will come back from your job site and you are tired, fall asleep, and she took your phone and started searching who you have been discussing with? Okay, Tom is writing from Muyuka. Tom, yes, yes, but that is also part of. Good evening to you, Mr. Leo. It's Bro John from Bamenda. I want to appreciate all the men of God in the studio. May God bless you all. Mr. Leo, how can you talk with a wife who cannot say I'm sorry when she's wrong? Yeah. Okay. Let me take this one, then we continue. Wow, very interesting topic. Apostle Ambe is just hitting the point. Good evening to you, EPS Solange. Okay. My dear friend watching not far from here. We are talking about long distance relationship. Okay, we have to take a short break. We continue with the program after.
DSTV English Bag. Your subscription enters a new dimension. Movies, series, novellas, emotions are more deeper in English language.
Is a little dramatic.
Enjoy La Liga from the front row and the Premier League in immersion. On Nickelodeon, English is just superpower absolute.
For the surprise, please go now.
With E and One Magic in original version. Reality TV becomes real TV. And on African News and Discovery, News and Discovery shines worldwide. Post new programs with a DSTV English Pack option of Canal Plus and its 15 premium channels. Accessible as from 5,000 friends. Take advantage now.
Welcome back. You're watching Prime on my Media Prime. We are continuing with our discussions on long distance relationship. Not really easy. We have been discussing on this with Apostle Tambe Valentine, Madam Fotinglet, Henrietta Fotinglet, and Apostle Lefor Divine, called the Love Doctor, coming all the way from Boya, Southwest Regional Capital. We'll continue with you, the Love Doctor. Is it also important to set clear guidelines for the relationships? That is, we are saying that this is how we have to make it work, because it is a commitment that is expected for both partners, but also to see it as an opportunity in the interest of the family, because once you don't put it as an opportunity, you live in regret.
Yeah, the long distance, right? Yes, what you're saying is it's very important. That's why I said I will always encourage people to look into this before even getting married. Though I know things can change along the line, of course, but we have addressed that. I think they should look into this before getting married. And for guidelines, the truth is there's no rule book that we can get up and say, let's read this one now.
No,
We
but
have,
to some extent.
yes, no, but I think everything we have been saying here have been guiding.
Okay, we just keep everything in the hands of God.
No, did we leave everything in the hands of God here? For example, we have talked about effective communication, not just communication.
Okay.
Effective. In fact, if I want to say, let me say some three things very quickly, Mr. Leo. Since some is repetition, I'll just mention it. Then I will say the last thing. Now, effective communication. I like that word effective because communication is not always effective.
Okay.
Like we have mentioned, sometimes just because you spoke does not mean that it was understood.
Like Apostle Ambe was saying.
Yes, exactly. So this is something that is very important. And like for example, there is a where are you that it is genuine concern, and there is a where are you that it is suspicion.
Yeah.
And the truth is that you will know it from the very onset. Man has never liked that question, where are you? Even when God asked man, Adam, where are you? Adam said, I'm naked. Adam answered something else. You see, we have never liked that question. That is a question we don't like. Where are you? We don't answer that question. Adam said, I'm naked. I don't know. You see, yes. So, but you will see that, for example, a man who is very busy can just pick up his phone and see a message from his wife. Wow, I'm just thinking about you, and it keeps his day going. But there's a continuous checking that is because of mistrust, and this kind of communication cannot do well. Secondly, that idleness which she mentioned. The truth is, most relationships, Mr. Leo, one of the partners are usually idle, especially ladies whose man is abroad. In fact, you will hear there are people here, Mr. Leo, both men and women. You ask them, like you ask a young man, what are you doing? He said, I'm planning to travel abroad. Is that a job?
At the follow bush line.
At the follow bush line. You get it. And then now when they go, the girls here, they ask them, what are you doing now? No, mamas are there abroad. It's not a job. So you would describe most of the times girls relax when the man is abroad. So, and sometimes they don't know this. It pains the man. There are men who are sending money, but they have removed their heart from you. This is the truth. They are sending money because that's all you do. And idleness will make you vulnerable to any kind of thing. For example, it's idleness that is making you always trying to check. And a man who is busy, when you go to the Western world, and most of the time we have never traveled, it's so difficult for you to picture the kind of busy schedules out there. Lastly, this is very important. One of the things that makes this long distance relationship very dangerous. We are talking about whether even it's the same city or the same town or different country, is that most people don't have compatibility. They don't have things that they love doing together. That means this is something that is very important. Most people don't have common interests. For example, there are times that I'm out, I download a movie and I refuse to watch it because I know this is the kind of movie that my wife would love to watch. Sometimes I download and keep, and I cannot wait for that time. Those weekends. That's why sometimes I don't play on my Mondays, especially in the Southwest. You see, because we have these common things we do together. Mr. Leo, the truth is that when people are communicating from a distance and they don't have something in common, that's also the reason why discussion is boring. That's the reason why discussion trails off to something that brings fight. I think when there are these common interests, because the truth, like he said, and part of that common interest, like you mentioned, would be the family. You see, when like both of you, like you, I think you mentioned here one time that you and your wife spoke, and you know, okay, she has to go and further her studies. And I think it's because you have a common interest. There is something you want to achieve as a family. Now you put that in front, and now when she's going out there, because it's a goal, because it's part of the vision, you both can say, okay, let's handle this for a while. There's something that is for a while. It's what we call sacrifice. When is the sacrifice? That's good. And you know, okay, at the end of the day, this is what we are achieving due to this. And now you have to now step in and all of that. I think this common interest, when spouses or people in a relationship have common interest, it is easier for them. Like even when they have the moment, okay, for example, that man who says he has one day, but when he comes, he goes out. It's like, I think there was a message here. That why? Because maybe when he comes, he doesn't have anything interest that he can do with his wife apart from have sex. I think people in a relationship should have common interests so that when they have the opportunity to spend together, they enjoy it and make use of it.
Okay, enjoy it and make use of it. What are you guys saying out there? Let me take one or two of your messages. Good evening, Mr. Leo. It's Beatrice Kanji from Kumba. Just want to say one of the reasons good to God relationship is because of companionship. Then why getting along a relationship in the first place? Okay. Good evening, everyone. Yes, you guys do not like the question, where are you? Because you guys are all cheaters. I'm Killer from So. Yes, some women are also cheaters. Good evening, Mr. Liu. I don't believe distance relationship is the best because it causes a lot of problems. You, the man, you don't feel free at all. Any least things you do is a problem with your woman. Better jump and pass. Nienti, writing from Garua. Good evening, Mr. Liu. A long distance relationship is riskier than driving a car on a steep hill without a brakes. Even not everyone can resist a seduce from a girl. All is that long distance relationship does not work at all. Marius is writing from Manjo. Good evening, Mr. Liu. Long distance relationship is not an easy task. Before getting in yourself, first do risk assessment, identify its severity and control measures. Then see if you can cope with the residues. Take a decision and bear the consequences. Kevin Kenneth, writing from Douala. Good evening, Mr. Leo. How do you do with a man who controls you only when you are out of his side and don't want you to associate with female friends? Sylvia, writing from Yaoundé. Good evening, Mr. Leo and wonderful panelists. I love you for who you are. I do not intend to change your person or anything in you. It's a policy that will make your relationship perfect. Madam Annie is writing from Bamenda. Hello, good evening, everyone. I'm called Thelma. Please, I wish to know how to communicate more because right now the communication between my boyfriend and I is somewhat weak. Okay. Good evening, Mr. Leo and the panelists. Distance relationship is for people that have understood themselves before going apart. If you don't yet know some bow, okay. Madam Fotinglet, now, what are some of the inconveniences that you must be ready to live with as somebody who is in a long distance relationship? You're talking about coping.
It's because those inconveniences exist. That's why we are trying to look for solution.
Yes.
Because
those basics, because there are some very little things that you may minimize and which will actually play in the disfavor of your relationship.
Of course. You know, like somebody said there, he said the concept of marriage, by the way, like Bible says, it's being together. Like Bible says in Ecclesiastes, it say when two sleep together, there is warmth. You know, the very concept is that you have to stay together, not only physically, but you have to be bonded. There has to be that bond, you feeling that my spouse is around. Sometimes that physical availability is most important. So one of the inconveniences, just the fact that your spouse is out, you feel so lonely. Most especially for people who have lived together before. And I want to say, maybe in your case, you know, you've had your spouse, your wife by you all the time. By the time you're closing from work, you know, okay, by the time I'm going, the bed is made up, there's food that has been prepared. Okay, I would have to sleep alone. I have somebody I can share my worries with. You know, but by the time you know that, okay, I'm getting home, my spouse is away, and even if you talk on phone, no matter how effective and efficient communication is between you both, if you are not in the same town, it can never be the same way if you guys were in the same house. There is always that difference, you know, because at one point, I want to call, we are talking about the time zoning, so it can be different. When I am available, you're busy. When you are available, I'm asleep, I'm tired, maybe I've been working, so we might not really the inconveniences. Whereas when you are together, okay, we can.
It's the same time zone.
We can always be.
Holy
I can feel you,
Jesus-
and you can
Jesus-
feel me.
Jesus said he's going to send us the Holy Spirit.
Yeah, the Holy Spirit, that those are spiritual things now. Marriage is, like my father always say, marriage is flesh. You know, this is, we're talking about physical, the touch, the flesh. So in a nutshell, that's one of the things you begin to miss, and you begin to feel like you're alone. You can't talk to your wife when you want. You can't talk to your husband when you want. You cannot actually feel the burdens you feel, and you want to talk at this time. Say, no, my husband is sleeping because he's out of here. You know, it becomes very disturbing. It becomes actually very disturbing. Still talking about inconveniences, we are looking at raising up children. Apostle talked about raising up kids. Raising up children is always better when both parents are around. You know, even if you walk far off, you stay off for some days and come back, at least it's days. But when you are out, as in out of the country, you have to stay for 2 years, you have to stay for 3 years. It's always better to raise children. What I can do, you can do. When I'm not around, especially when I'm not around, I know my husband is around. I know the kids are okay. If my husband is not around, he trusts that I'm home. You know, joint effort. Two are better than one, for they have a good reward for their labor. So when we are around, both around the children, they feel the warmth, they get the love of parents. They feel like, okay, daddy's there, mommy said they sleep. There are times that we sleep, my kids will come, they jump in the middle. My little girl, 4 years, said, I'm sleeping, this is my mother, this is my daddy, I'm the queen. You know, she feels like, okay, these are my parents. There's that warmth that she has. So raising children, especially when they are at very tender stage, it is always very important when you're together and you have to raise your kids. It is very important that both of you are around your children, so you can train them in a way that is most pleasant to you. So you won't be afraid that, okay, my wife might not give them the best education, or my husband might not even be there for them to give them that education and all of that. Those are some of the inconveniences. And then secondly, we are talking about insecurity, just like we've been talking about. One of the inconveniences is insecurity, as in, he might be sleeping, you're sleeping on the bed, he might be with a woman now, he might be sleeping with another woman now, I'm dead, you know.
Why is it only
the
he
panic,
might be?
or she might be the husband of another man. Let me put it that way. She might be. There's this man that used to look at my wife, you know, she might be. You know, mine is your guys in the US, and I've been seeing your wife's photo. See the way she's very pretty now. They need to be very strong, and I like the fact that you trust her very much. She's a nice. I'm just like, just to say that it's not only about men. Women have equal temptations like men as well. That temptation is so strong. When you're married, you have children. No, men, damn it. And most times they even like married women. They like women who are responsible, you know, right? And go out for single ladies. They would like you, and you can't stop it. You can't do anything. So the temptation is either ways. It's always, so there is always that issue of the temptations of people coming simply because they know that your husband is not there. They want to call you, they want to visit you, they want to corner, they want to love you, they want to feel the space of your husband.
Well.
You know, they want to feel that space. It may surprise you to know that there are men, we go to villages, even around, there are men that are specialized to run after widows. You know, their work is widows. So when they know that your husband is not around, then okay, that's a good chick, I can go after her. So that temptation is very high. Likewise, men, a man being alone for 6 months, 1 year, yes, you're that man. You are flesh, you are not iron. And Bible says, trust no man after the flesh. He said, one thing God did not even trust at creation was flesh. So you really have to kill the flesh. You really have to kill the flesh and tell yourself, I'm in for this. It's about me, it's about my wife, it's about my relationship, it's about my family, and I am going to make this work. Self-discipline in this time, in situations like this, is very important. You know, when you find yourself, there's always a temptation. Men, you want to skip out. There are prostitutes, there are people jumping on you left and right. There are guests seducing you with eyes, touching you left and right. They know that, no, his wife is not around. You can always have, you know. So it's not easy. Those are some of the temptations that come, the inconveniences that come with living apart from your spouses. And you have to just brave it out. Like, yes, I'm in for this, and I have to make it work. Okay. And know that the day you compromise, you might just be going for good.
Okay.
Then you compromise. So we don't compromise with things like that. If you're in a distant relationship, sometimes don't leave your marriage to compromise. Do not compromise your relationship. Do not compromise and say, no, it's just a 1 minute a leisure pleasure I want to have with another person. That might be very expensive. It might be very costly. You don't know what that one night, that 30 minutes you are going to spend with that lady, with that man, is going to cost to your relationship.
Okay.
It might cost really something enormous.
Good evening, Mr. Liu. This type of relationships always fail because the men in particular must cheat. I am a victim of it. He cheated to the extent that he started calling me with his girlfriend's name. Good evening to you, Mo, writing from Yaoundé. Okay, it is well. Good evening, Mr. Liu. I have a friend here in Yaoundé. The wife will call from Nigeria on video call while she is in the bedroom trying to take her bath, just to prove love to the husband that no one has touched his property. Gilbert, writing from Yaoundé also. Wow, Yaoundé, many calls coming in from there. Hello to you guys there. I'm Mr. Nyaboko Pius Ndifi from Damas. I think distance relationship is not 100% sure. For example, if it is a bone of bone relationship, genuine relationship, it will work. But if it is not a genuine one, it might be a temporal relationship. Okay. Good evening, Mr. Liu. Blessed by the words of Apostle Ambe. My own point of view is that this relationship that will break, distance or close. Marriage is belief. I believe is one thing we don't repair. Brulin is writing from Douala. Good evening to you all. I'm enjoying your program and I like you all. Please, I would like the youngest vibrant man at your side to change his tone when talking. Okay? Thank you. Miss Declare is writing from Douala. This is the second person writing. Apostle, they say you speak and they don't really understand. Maybe you are talking like a white man. I don't know. This is the second person who is making that remark. Can we? Yes. Yeah. Okay, I don't know where, but I understand you very well. Good evening, Mr. Liu, and to all the counselors there in the studio. Very important topic. I'm really enjoying the program. Keep educating the world, Mr. Liu, and all of you in the platform. Jesus Jerry from Kwataroba, Mutengene. Oh, I did not know there is a Jesus in Mutengene. Hello, good evening, Mr. Liu. Long distance relationship can only go well if serious communication and trust is done. And also you both need to occupy yourselves and not being idle. But it's too risky because one can claim to trust on which there is no trust. I'm Lidwin, writing from Bangante. Okay. Please, Mr. Liu, Sipro from Yaoundé coming again. Please, what is the meaning between having sex and making love? What do married people do? Is it love making or having sex? That's a topic for another day, please. Yes, let's discuss it a different day. Good evening, Mr. Leo. The day you will stop this program and this God-sent panelists, especially Apostle Ambe, I'm going to stop watching TV programs. God bless you and Apostle Ambe for his widest knowledge. Charles, writing from Yaoundé. Good evening, Mr. Liu and the other panelists. Distance relationship is like an egg. If you don't handle it carefully, it must break. I think the only solution is love, trust, and God's intervention. Diabati, writing from the United Arab Emirates, Ngwangwa, writing from Bamenda, says, good evening, Mr. Liu and panelists. A distant relationship can only be managed and kept by trust and believing in the other partner. God love Ngwa from Bamenda. Greetings to Desmond Gang in the United Arab Emirates. Apostle Tambe Valentine Ngwa, can you effectively control a partner who is away from you by wanting to know the friends they relate with? Is it possible?
Suicidal.
Okay.
I repeat again, suicidal. If you attempt to control a partner by trying to know the kind of friends they keep, I can tell you that even some of those friends they keep are interested in you. They will do everything possible to foster a relationship with them so that you can have them. Let me let every woman or man understand that that woman that you are interested in, many people equally are interested in. And that man that seemed to have loved you and paid attention to you, many women are equally interested in that man. You will be risking your life by trying to count on people who are interested in what you are trying to hold. They will scatter it very easily and find their way in the same relationship that they helped you scattered. Do you think me sitting here like this, only my wife that admires me? It's not possible. Do you think Mr. Leo sitting here that admires him? No. If we keep ourselves together because we have respect for the institution called marriage, we have dignity for the office called husband, and we have recognition for the office called fathers. That is the reason why we control and respect ourselves publicly and privately. Not because temptation doesn't come. Remember, the theme is coping with temptations. There is no way a man on this earth, even no matter how low he is, he will have more than a woman to love him. And this is one thing people must understand. Whether you are conscious or you are not conscious, you are aware or you are not aware, people are automatically attracted to you. Every man has a capacity, and that capacity does not attract only one person. It attracts a variety of persons. It is you that have the capacity now to make a choice among the people who are attracted towards you. You cannot stop them from loving you. You cannot hate them from being attracted to you. You cannot even fight them for developing affection towards you. It is your responsibility to decide which of the affections you are going to embrace and which one you are going to deny. Till tomorrow, they will still develop interest. Whether you are married or you are not married, whether you are single or you are what, people will always get attracted to you. Now, if you want to be your relationship based on what people will say or think, you are definitely risking that relationship because somebody may be amongst that crowd that is interested in you and might not give you the right information. There is a recent testimony of a woman who is properly catered for by the husband. The husband bought her car. She's living a sumptuous life. She sent a friend to go and investigate the husband. The friend went and brought a negative report. She came back and then the husband attacked the husband, only to find out later that the man was totally innocent. The man pushed the lady out of the house, only for the lady to realize that the man sent him a voice note confirming that the same person who helped her walk out of the house was looking for a means to find her way into that house. The opportunity you are enjoying right now with a person, learn to trust people and make sure that you find. Scripture says if you find your husband, they didn't say colleagues help you find. Your family helps you find. That is to say, you must authenticate an information before you validate it. A lot of people are living in relationship on I hearsay. If you live in any relationship on I hearsay, you are jeopardizing that relationship. That's the blatant truth. So you cannot count, even closest friends are not sufficient enough. That your wife sits or your husband sits in the house and then your wife, a strange number calls you and say, are you sure that your husband is a sincere person? And there are women that pick it and accept it. Then you have to reflect that, when did I make you a messenger, a monitoring spirit, or an envoy to my husband? Somebody picks a phone and calls you that, I just met your husband and so and so hotel. Your response to that person should give an alarm that you are not interested in getting information from outside. But women easily, or men, some men, will easily pick the information and they start building their sentiments on it. That's the truth. Somebody called my wife once and said, where is your husband? Are you sure your husband is in the house? My wife said my husband is not in the house. And then he said, I just saw him now coming out of the hotel. The response my wife gave to the man gave the man the impression that you cannot just enter any home. A man can be interested in you as a woman. He starts by discrediting your husband in front of you for him to have grounds to penetrate you.
Okay.
So that by the time he approaches you, you already have your mind that if the man is cheating, why won't I also cheat?
Good evening.
That's it.
Okay. Good evening, Mr. Liu and team. I think any relationship got its testing time, whether close or distant. Only trust can keep a relationship going. Special thanks to my love, Wala Jovlin And our Prince Caleb, Derek Walla, is writing from Chang. Yes, that is the great guy. That's the love language you guys want now. Good evening, Mr. Liu. I'm blessed in Mutengene. All about relationship is trust. This one says, Mr. Liu, is John from Bomenda. Please greet me, Madame Henrietta, because I didn't greet her before. Wow, okay, she got it. This one says, I love long-distance relationship because of my very calm and reserved nature, as it makes me enjoy my comfort zone, being alone and my work rather than too much communication, outings, anything that would take me out of my comfort zone. All I want from a man is to give me his word and assurance. Then I'll give him peace and trust as more as I love him. Still, Miss Declare is writing from Douala here. We move over to a second topic, which has to do with whether women should use relationship and marriage as their core achievements in life. We'll start with you, the love doctor. Do you have the impression that some people actually, especially ladies, look up to having either a guy or getting married as their life achievements?
It's not an impression, it's a reality.
Okay.
Based on personal research and the environment where I am, even as a consultant and counselor in Boya, Southwest region. I know Boya is a very energetic and youthful environment. I see a lot of people who are graduating, and when you ask them what their next plans are when they graduate, you hear things like, when I graduate, I go marry. They don't want to realize. You see that it's like the next achievement. And I think this is picked culturally, and I want to say something that so many people might not agree, but a woman who is married is not better than a woman who is single. I know some people will be like, what? Yes. When you build yourself, like I've always said here, marriage is not something that you see some people run after it and it's never coming. Then some people prepare for it, build capacity, and it comes. And I want to say this because a girl, most of the times, because a girl who is out there, most of the times there is this revelation that if you are not married, you are not good enough. And I think he has put a lot of pressure on girls. I think girls should be more focused on becoming the better versions of themselves. And yes, two are better than one, but most of the time when these people are under pressure to enter, they become worse. They become how can I put it? Like I said, a bus radiator will knock an engine. You know, you should be a good radiator before connecting with an engine. I always give this illustration. A radiator should not just connect to an engine. Be a good radiator. So my point is this: we must realize that there's a lot of societal pressure. Most women, there are a lot of women, and like we said, there are a lot of women. That's why some look at relationship like a job. Like you ask them, what next? No, they say, now go find some fine massa, marry me. In fact, sometimes parents are asking, what now? I know you.
I define massa.
I define massa. That's the next thing. I've always said that this search for husband is also one of our major problems. This search, this one that you see that it's like you're looking. I think it's a he that finds a wife. I think you should be focused on becoming a wife and be found. And I think as long as people begin to see marriage like some major achievement, it will cause pressure on people not to look. Marriage is a good thing. I'm not belittling marriage, but I think if a single lady is still a great lady, they should pursue purpose, pursue God's assignment for their life. I don't think a married woman is better than a single woman. But I think a married woman who knows what she's doing, who is purposeful and has found the right husband is great. But that does not mean that women should see it like they are useless or they are not good enough because they are not married. I think we must debunk this idea so that we can help our girls build themselves and become good wives and have great families tomorrow.
Madam Fotinglet, I discussed, because before doing this, actually discussed with some men of God who told me that in most of their churches, the key prayer point for almost all the ladies, topmost priority is the prayer point for marriage. Is it a mindset issue or it is actually what should be? Eh?
It's
in the church, eh?
in the church. You know, it's in the church. It's in the church. And until I used to tell my father and mother, I never knew that even after I was married and before I got committed into church, I didn't know marriage was supposed to be that kind of a prayer topic. As in, like, you want to get married. You know, it was going to be that severe prayer topic. I just knew that you have to be busy. You just have to be doing your things. Then marriage meet you along the line. You know, a friend of mine asked me why we were at the university. I was like, Henriette, why is that each time? I've never heard you give a prayer topic like, let's pray for marriage. I said, but the marriage will come at the right time now. What is it even? Is marriage supposed to be a problem you start praying for? However, just like Apostle is saying, ladies must understand that there's no woman that was born married. There is always that stage that you're single. Then you get into marriage. Some get into marriage much younger. Others go into marriage older. Some get into marriage at 20, at 25, they're divorced. Others get into marriage at 35, 40, and they make it very successful and wonderfully. You know, let the issue of marriage to our young girls out there not mount this kind of pressure on you. You are first of all a human being, wonderfully and beautifully made in the image of God with a lot of potentials in you. There is nobody God created on earth that does not have any use, that you are useless. You have no potentials. You don't know who you are. You just don't know who you are. Find out, who am I? What am I? What was I created for? Why am I living? Focus on you. Build yourself. Make life with or without a man. Some people might say maybe you're talking because you're married. No. You know, probably it's that kind of mindset. You want to think that, oh, maybe I should have been married. But there are people, mind you, there are ladies, a lot, many that I know, that are married that want to get out of it. Marriage is not an easy thing. Marriage is not an easy institution. In as much as marriage is a beautiful world, it's a beautiful place. If you married right, if you marry to the right person that meets up to you blend together, you enjoy it, you go along with it. But there are ladies who are regretting because you get married and that potential in you is buried. It dies. You don't affect the world the way you should have affected the world if you had not been married by that time. So for young ladies, rather than put in your mind that there's no such thing as I have an achievement because I am married. No, I have an achievement because I am effectively into service. I am impacting my world and my generation. I have an achievement because I see lives transformed. I see people happy simply because I can do something. I can impact them in one way or the other. I feel I have an achievement simply because I am useful to the economy of this country, because I can use my talents, I can use my brain, I can use my efforts to work and to contribute to the growth of the economy of my nation. You know, so those are the things we call achievements. Marriage is what achievement? Marriage. You can divorce with a man, but you cannot divorce with your talent. You cannot divorce with your career. You cannot divorce with that gifting that is in you that you have developed. You cannot divorce with your destiny. But you can divorce with a man. You divorce one time, two times. People divorce as many times. I know ladies that have been divorced 5 times. They keep marrying. They keep getting married and thinking that things will be better. Okay. No, it is not about that. Who are you? Why were you created? Why were you born? You came to this world. I have something I need to do. When you get focused and busy on that thing, as you're making yourself resourceful and useful to the society, the men will see you from behind. And before a man comes before you, he knows that I am not going to meet an idolater. He respects you. They say they send women out of homes. It's not every kind of woman they drive in the house anyhow. It's not any kind of a woman they insult. It's not any kind of woman they talk to anyhow. If you are that woman that before they knew you, your hands were into work. The Proverb 31 woman, we know, yes, she was married. She was not an idle woman. She wasn't. And if there is something particular that the Bible appreciated her for, and I think that the main reason why she was brought into the picture in the Bible was because of her hands, the works of her hands. The fact that she was not lying on the bed and just respecting them or being submissive and stay in the house and not doing anything. That's not why they brought her.
She was the pride of the husband.
She was the pride of the husband because she put her hands to work. She was a busy woman. At that point, she was busy, and the husband respected her. If a man, if you're yet to get married or you are married, if you need respect from your husband, please, one thing I'll advise you to do: get busy, be resourceful, contribute to the home, be you, develop yourself and grow, impact your well, be that woman of. And when you do that, whether you're married, the man will respect you unconsciously. When the man starts seeing the way you are going, and he sees people respecting you, automatically he's proud of you. That's my wife, that's my wife. He identifies with you in public. Yeah. He's not afraid, he's not ashamed.
Yeah, Proverbs 31 actually say when he moves around,
yeah, it says the man when he sits with his mates, he's respected. He's greatly esteemed because
of what the wife does. Yes, Apostle Tambe Valentine, are many destinies actually swallowed up because some persons were so itchy to get married, and especially if you were to get married to the man who would not say you should succeed. Yes, you get married to the man say you be housewife.
You asked a question as if you were connected to my spirit. Okay. If you did not even ask this question, I would have answered this thing you are talking now. Miles Muro of blessed memory said, and I quote, "The richest place on earth is the grave. It has books that were never written. It has songs which were never sung. It has projects which were never accomplished. It has inventions that were never invented because they both died without understanding their purpose. The second place on earth, which is very rich, is marriage, because it has a lot of untapped resources. It will be shocking that women rose up in Kenya and Uganda marching the streets that the parliament should endorse polygamy. In other words, you are not considered married if you have one wife. The women saw marriage as an achievement. A group of ladies in Kaduna and Kano, Muslim ladies, rose up and said, the men who have one wife and two wives should get at least two. I'm talking about graduates, should have at least two other wives again because they are from the university, they are not married. Now, a woman enters into marriage after graduation. She has a degree in education. The moment she enters into marriage, she loses the sense of her ability and her qualification and calls herself a housewife. She becomes good enough just to give birth to children, wash dresses, and do domestic jobs. Many potentials and degrees are lying low in boxes and cupboards because they entered into marriage. I saw a famous Nigerian comedian who took the wife's first-class degree in accountancy and say, look at what your mother brought from university. She's not been able to give us anything in this house. It is me who does comedy and didn't go to school. I'm the one feeding the house. I saw it on social media on video. That tells us that marriage is a grave that swallows potentials. A lady may be looking for a job as a single lady because she has responsibilities. Yes. Mm-hmm. But when somebody covers that responsibility, they fail to understand that you don't study to make money. You study to serve the society. You were not given potential to create wealth. Even if it is to create wealth, one of the reasons for your potential, or the least, is to create wealth. Your own was to administer to the needs of people. Now you carry such potential and certifications and you enter into the grave called marriage. The moment your basic needs like hairdo, perfume, or body lotion, dresses, and cars are met by a man, that ability deposited in you by God dies automatically. Now you are swallowed in that grave called marriage. You will discover that most of the girls who are running from one bank or corporate organization or business center are ladies who are not married. check, statistics has proven that most comfortable, educated, skillful married women do not exploit their potentials. Someone said it is pressure that brings palm oil out of the nuts of oil. That is to say, if a woman is not pressed beyond measure, the potential in her cannot come out. A lot of marriages have bought potentials indirectly and closed the pages of people. So if the grave is the richest place because it has untapped potentials, marriage is another ground that has a lot of untapped potentials. There is a Muslim man who is on social media on BBC, Pigeon.
Yes.
He has 2 wives.
Yeah. Yes.
The first wife has a degree in economics. The second has a degree in banking. But they are married to the man, and hear what they said: we are comfortable because he takes care of us. That's an economist that would have served her society like Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala if at all she had the opportunity to exploit the treasure in her. But marriage is that grave that has swallowed a lot of potential. So if people see marriage as an achievement, then they are a failure big time. Now, I give a simple example. Do you know that most rich men have very educated wives? What are the responsibilities of those women? The best thing they do is to travel out of the country for holidays. They drive the best cars. They eat the best food. They have knowledge of where everything is sold except what they sell. I repeat, they have knowledge of where everything is sold except what they sell. Which means they have nothing to sell, but they are buying everything. That talent in that woman, which you caged. A woman comes to your house, she was a powerful singer who was singing from one conference to another and blessing society. The day I have seen powerful singing and anointed sisters, when they got married, the anointing disappeared into thin air. Because the man lands the first child, the second child, that vision, that zeal, that passion that was running through her dies. The place of motherhood swallows potentials. The place of weavery swallows potentials. The place of menagere swallows.
But isn't it also the ladies who actually limit themselves?
Mr. Leo, not 100% the ladies. It is true, those women who saw marriage as an achievement will bury their potential and certificates when they enter into it. But some men also, when they marry you, they suffocate your potential. They don't give you the opportunity to express what you carry. I have seen cases like that.
Yeah, but that is why. So that is why that's why many persons will ask me, but how is it possible that you allow your wife to travel? Because I think that if there are opportunities, it is true. Many persons have asked me this question.
That is
not knowing that when I got married to her, she was in nursing at school. She did not have a degree, but if she wanted to have a degree, I would not refuse. She wanted to have a master's degree, I would not refuse. She wanted further education, I would not refuse.
You are one of such men. Just like I met my wife. You all know how she got a degree. I met my wife with first school living certificate. I gave her not just the time and the space to study. I helped, taught her, and I paid the fees. That's a man of a kind. There are also men who feel inferior. I know of a lady who worked her money and wanted to write police concours. The husband started beating her from even going to school, that she may go to school one day and become something and intimidate him. So there are men in categories. Why also some women who are well educated, because they saw the fantasy and the enjoyment in a marriage, they buried their potential and their skills forever. Those are the two things we are dealing with.
I really want to say this, because let's treat this issue from before marriage. While some men can be tyrant and suffocate a destiny, most of the times it's because when they were marrying, you never sometimes the direction.
Okay.
You see, sometimes
there are discoveries that can only be made after marriage.
No, it's true. We're not refusing. Yeah, it's a matter of time. See, yeah, look, no, the thing is that, Mr. Leo, sometimes you can actually meet somebody and you know that this person is ambitious. You might not know all their ambitions, but you already know that this is somebody who does not want to be where they are. And that's why we always encourage young people. My only encouragement is also here that the young people should have this, because sometimes some of these girls have already, like they said, because they are comfortable. Many of them, as long as you are now, they no longer have bills to pay, their rooms and everything, they become comfortable. And then most people come in and they forget that two should be better than one. I've always said that two must be better than one. It means both ways. It means that as a woman, your coming together with the man should make you better, just as the man should be better because he found you. And I think the truth is, many women have lost their way because they just wanted a name that they were married, and they have forgotten that God created them to be of service to mankind, to be a blessing to the world, and not just to a man. And I think sometimes if we don't make these things very clear, you will see that a lot of great women, a lot of great potential, and it comes because sometimes when these people, that's what I always encourage. This is my own small advice. I think I made this statement clear here. Start doing something. Most of the times it's because most of the women start doing something. At least let the man know that you are somebody who loves doing something. Start doing something. It will help. It will help. Like you saw her, and I'm sure maybe you saw the Untapped. Even he might have met his wife. The woman might have just have first clues, but I'm sure if that woman did not like to go to school, it's because she loved to. She also loved to be led. I think there is also a part to be played by these people, because no matter how you force that woman, if she don't want to, she will not. And I think this is the part I'm trying to play, so that because we can blame the men. I think these women should be willing to learn, to grow, to serve, and be better version. And lastly, I want to say this, Mr. Luke, before I leave. I think some people don't know the price of motherhood. Most of the time, some of them did not know that as they got in, it will become difficult. When the first child come, they cannot manage anything again. They discover that everything has ended. Then not long after that, the second and the third. I think many people don't know that motherhood changes everything. I think they should learn to know that before they get in.
Okay.
I think that's one thing I wanted to. Yeah. One of the things that actually limit women and make them sometimes forget their first mission in life is when it comes to motherhood. Motherhood is, at one point, it's a difficult world that a woman gets there. You start struggling to manage everything. Like you said, one child comes, a second, a third, a fourth. You're struggling to manage family, and now you start feeling that you do not have the ability. You cannot manage your career, you cannot manage your dreams, you cannot manage your purpose and all of that, alongside with taking care of children and playing your role well as a wife, as a mother in the house. So that thing gets to catch you. And that's the reason why when you see nowadays, there are a lot of these Women Arise conference out there, women's empowerment conference, which I really want to encourage a lot of women out there. If you have the opportunity to attend some of these conferences, don't hesitate to attend some of these conferences. And sometimes why these women will remain, some women will remain docile, they just remain there, is because they don't have that opportunity to go out. They can't go, they don't attend such conferences, they don't go where there are women that can speak into their, they're not challenged, they don't feel challenged, they're just at home, you know. A lot of women, I see a lot of women out there, they are just in some meetings, in some, you say, what are you doing? I'm just in the house, you know. You're trying to pull them out. There are women, you'll be surprised that there are women that even have they have first degree, but they don't have the bonus to go to the bank alone and do a bank transaction. They cannot feel a check. They want everything done to them by maybe their husband. They want to be helped at all times. That's because they're not used to doing it. They have not been empowered to do that. They have limited their senses to the four walls of the house, taking care of the children, cooking food for the husband, meeting up to his sexual needs, doing this and all of that. So men should give women that latitude, that opportunity, help her. Help, you know, help the women, help your wives. If you have a woman that is home, maybe she too is struggling, but she doesn't know how to go about this. Help her. You get those women empowerment conferences where you think that they can educate and build the capacity in your wife. Do not hesitate. Let them go there. You go out for those conferences, even if they are supposed to be paid. Pay those conferences. Attend them. That thing in you shall be challenged. That woman in you, that talent in you shall be challenged to come out, and you actually work out for it.
Okay. Mr. Leo, good evening. I'm happy with this topic. Women get married, you know. Some women go to married because they just want to have that name. I beg women, get married to the person you truly love. Charles Njume is writing from Kongsamba. Good evening, Mr. Leo. Thanks for educating the world, and more grace to the wise men apostle. Ambe. Please, it's Mama Nicole. Good evening from Boya. Please, I want to ask, how can you know that this is the right person? Pray hard and fast. Good evening, Mr. Leo. Lady, if you are married and you have a wonderful and strong marriage, remember there is more to life than marriage and your family. Marriage was not the ultimate goal for your existence. God has taught so much in you than wife and mother functions. Gerard Rinda Jakame, writing from Douala, exactly what Madame Fotinglet is saying out here. Good evening, Mr. Leo. Many people are supporting distance relationship because they are into such a relationship and just to compromise, because if you see what they do in their separate place, it's unexplainable. They are not sincere about the whole thing. Me, for one, I can't do long distance relationship. We might flow well, but I always find myself doing something different, sometimes willingly. I'm Wonder Boy from Yaoundé. Yes. Will you not cheat if your wife were to be living with you? Good evening, Mr. Leo. I'm Connie Elvis from Boya. I love your program. It's educative. Just add to what Apostle Lefor is saying. When you are still single, all you see are happy couples. And when you are married, all you see are happy single. So to me, marriage is a choice. Yes, it's a decision you make. Yes, but it's true now. Yes. This one says, very long message. Apostle Ambi Valentine Gua, but this is also coming from some pressure from either friends or family, and maybe many persons find themselves in stiff competition. Our society tends to stigmatize persons who are not married, considering them as unserious.
Yeah, culturally speaking, the African society, you are inferior in the eyes of people if you are not married. There is a level of respect you will never earn if you are not married. There is a recognition they can never give you if you are not married. That's the cultural background from the African society, and which is very common almost everywhere. Now, you know, when you are a boy or a girl, it's when you are a father or a mother. There is a fear to respond to a father rudely, and a fear to respond to a mother rudely than to respond to a girl or a boy rudely. There is a fear to touch a married woman, and there is a fear to touch a married man like you would touch a single girl and then touch. There is that aura of respect around them. So sometimes with the African society, based on our cultural upbringing, it becomes a serious challenge. People believe that if you are married, there is a certain level of honor and respect you can earn in the society than when you are not married. Secondly, the cultural background from the African perspective automatically makes you understand that when you give birth to a child out of marriage, you are considered, in quotes, some irresponsible lady or a prostitute. And then when you give birth to a child out of marriage, it's already a disadvantage for you to get married. And then some cultural backgrounds also see children being born out of wedlock as a disgrace and an abuse to a particular family. If you put all this together from a cultural perspective, it now pushes every lady to want to give birth in a marital settlement. It wants Men can easily go wayward and give birth to children out of marriage, but a woman that gives birth to a child out of marriage in the African perspective is considered a disadvantage. To really actually get somebody that will admire you in that condition and really get married to you, it becomes a bit difficult. So it is the notion, I'm talking about from an African cultural perspective, it's a notion, but in actual life from experience, it's not so. It's not supposed to be so. You are not supposed to be married to earn respect. You are supposed to be useful to earn respect and impactful in the society. I've given you the African cultural perspective, but I'm giving you now practical life experiences. A woman that doesn't get married like Mother Teresa and took care of orphans and widows in Calcutta in India, left with the Nobel Peace Prize that most married women never earned. Mother Teresa fed and raised a lot of dignitaries in the world today that married women did not raise. That's the impression. There is a woman called Maria Woodward Eater. She never gave birth, she never got married. But her impact as a preacher of the gospel, Catherine Kuhlman, never got married. She was impactful in life to the extent whereby sicknesses and diseases of all kinds came to her crusade and were healed. So from a cultural background, we have built into the psyche of our women that you are not valuable or you are not worth anything if you are not married. That in actual life experience, it is your impact in the lives of people. It is your contribution to humanity. It is the changes you create in your era as you exist on earth that determines the value you possess, not the marriage institution. That is why you see, because of our upbringing, every leader begins to see marriage as a place to earn respect. That is why you see, so a girl will prefer to get married and do nothing, while there is somebody who is not married and is doing something useful. They will respect the person that is married and is not impactful than a one who is not married but impactful.
Okay, Apostle, fortunately we have to end here. Madam Fotinglet, once again, I will plead with you to note this topic. I think we should continue with it next week too now. We'll look at part 2 of this same topic next week, yes. Greetings, Mr. Liu. My regards to all the panelists. Please, I wish to find out from the Apostle, is it good for a man at 40 to marry a woman with 3 children, but of which they understand themselves very well? Please, I need your help. Jason is writing from Equatorial Guinea. Very briefly.
Yes, brother, if you want to marry a woman that has 3 children, understands you very well, and is going to your direction, it doesn't matter, as long as love stands in between the two of you. Some single women will send you to your early grave.
Okay. Marrying is a goal, and it is an achievement to most women. And what women need is to pray to God to give them a husband that will help them to achieve their other goals in life. Tembu is writing from Douala. Rene from Limbe says, good evening, Mr. Liu. Do men that kneel to propose marriage to women make future husbands material than men who do not kneel to propose marriage to women? Okay, that's a topic for another day. Thank you, Mr. Liu. I think that women need to expose their goals to their fiancé when they are still in courtship. Bro John is writing from Bamenda. Justin writing from Aquano, that's in Douala here. Good evening, Mr. Liu. I got married when I had my state registered nurse certificate, but husband and his family decided to frustrate my ambition, and I had to fight for it until I stepped into depression and they threw me out. So every woman who wants to get married should at least have a handwork. Justin, good evening to you. Hello, good evening, Mr. Liu, and to all the panelists. This is Mary writing from Yaoundé. Please, I wish to ask, what if the woman has certificates and willing to work, but the husband is refusing, and worse of it that he is unable to provide the woman her needs? What should she do? Exactly what we were talking about. Yes, your destiny is being swallowed up in that marriage. Good evening, Mr. Liu. I really enjoy your program, Mr. Liu. Some marriages are hell, so women who are not married should make themselves useful, responsible, and happy, because marriage is not a source of happiness. Beryl, writing from Yaoundé, may you live long, Apostle, and may you speak a reality. To me, marriage should not be a pressure but a call too, because it was not meant for everybody. This whole thing called rush into marriage is the primary cause for divorce, and I condemn pastors who set marriage as prayer points in churches. This has finally reduced my spontaneity of going to church because it made me feel embarrassed and uncomfortable. I will use this opportunity to let some of my single friends to know that marriage is a gift to God, chosen one, capable of fulfilling its demands. Ladies, desperation and pressure mounting put on men to marry them should stop. Okay, good evening to you watching from Yaoundé. We want to thank you, Apostle Ambe, for coming.
It's a joy, Mr. Leo. Thank you for all those who have been watching the program and your contributions.
Thank you too for coming, Apostle Lefor Divine.
Thank you, Mr. Leo, and thank you for having me. And we are glad to know that 2 weeks from now we shall be having TLC 2021 at Chariot Hotel, Boya. So please, if you want to have an experience with the best talent youth exhibition in the nation, please get a ticket, and you're all welcome. You can always contact me on Facebook, Lefor Divine. Thank you.
Thank you too for coming, Madam Fotinglet.
Thank you, Celia. Thank you, the viewers. Thanks for all your comments and for your contributions. One word: if you're married, stay happy. Make your marriage happy. If you're not married, ladies, be happy. Whether married or not, choose to be happy. If you're in a long-distance relationship, be intentional about it. Or you're around, be intentional about your marriage. Keep a good marriage and trust God. Everything will be well.
Okay, we want to thank you all who took time off to watch today's edition of the program, especially to you, the production team, Eli and Desmond, and to you, Tambe Valentine, supervising the work we do out there. Stay blessed. Bye-bye.